Hello, good morning, welcome back. Today we are here for the second round of Radio Ambulante favorite episodes. The first episode of this was earlier this year. I will link it in the description. I am trying to listen to all of the Radio Ambulante backlog, and so I have almost all of the 2020 and 2021 episodes done, so I am back with another list. So the way that I did this, same way as last time, while I am listening to the episode, if I'm listening and I'm like, this is a really good episode, then I star the episode in the app that I use to listen to podcasts. Then I go through when I'm ready to make one of these videos and I write down all of the starred episodes. So this list will be in the description box. So this is any episode that made an impression on me. Obviously, all episodes are good, but like above and beyond a normal episode while I was listening to it. What I'm going to talk about are ones that I still now remember clearly and am like, oh yeah, that was really good, because some of these I listened to probably 6 months ago. So if they still are like impactful now looking back, that means that they really made an impact. So anyway, una ciudad en dos from February 18th, 2020. This is the story of, oh my god, what is that city called in El Paso? Juarez and El Paso, which are used to kind of be more just one city that happened to have a border through it, and now is much more obviously kind of almost militarized, like the border is really a big deal, and there's all kinds of social, economic, political impacts on both sides of the city. And there was a shooting at a Walmart on the US side that really kind of brought to the forefront, brought to light the conflicts and the issues between the two parts of the one city. So I don't think I explained that very well, but this was a very, very interesting episode to listen to. Then from February 25th, 2020, we have Laurina, quiere jugar. This is an episode from Brazil, and this is about a girl who wanted to play soccer, football, and there were no girls' teams available in her like skill level, age range, whatever, where she was. And so she had to fight basically to be allowed to play in the boys' teams. And so it's, a lot about, in her case, she was able to, she had, the support to try to fight this, where like, who knows how many girls could have been successful athletes who didn't have that support and just, well, there's no team for you to play in, and then just never were able to continue. So really, really liked that episode. From April 14th, disparos al cielo. This was so wild. So there's this community. I'll have on the screen the countries that these were from. I didn't think to write it down, and that's not something I remember, obviously. But this community all of a sudden starts getting these like cannon shots going off, like shaking the ground, shaking their houses, like, and it's like repeatedly. And so they're like, what in the world is going on? And this factory was trying to control, this sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's not, was trying to control weather so that they could run production more efficiently. This is wild. Leonela, quiere ser tu amiga from April 21st, 2020. This was a wild episode, not expected at all from the title. So this is the story of a woman whose partner was killed in what seems like possibly, I think they tried to say it was like an accidental, like a drive-by shooting, but she is not satisfied with that and tries to set out to find the answers of why he was killed on her own. If you like kind of, that investigative journalism type of thing, definitely check it out. No hay visitas from November 3rd. This is a story of a woman who went to prison. Basically, it's just the story of following her from prison to prison as she tried to advocate for the rights of herself and other prisoners who were obviously not, always treated well whatsoever. Not one of those really blockbuster plot kind of episodes, but I just found it really impactful and interesting to hear her story. Lorena, mi mamá y yo, November 24th. This was so sad. I listened to this episode in the car when I was still commuting to work. I remember having to turn it off because I was going to get to work in 10 minutes, and I was like, I cannot be bawling going into work, so I need a moment to collect myself. But this is the story of domestic abuse, essentially. So one of the producers, I think, of Radio Ambulante and her previous generations talking about their experiences with domestic abuse and the different ways that can manifest, using immigration as a tool for that, immigration status. Very, very sad, very impactful. La busqueda from January 19th, 2021. This is a topic that there's also a book that I really want to read that is about this. I think particularly in the Argentinian dictatorship, not sure on other ones, but it was very common practice in Argentina at that time. Well, I don't know about very common, but it was a big thing that happened, that they would remove the children from the dissidents, political prisoners, anyone that they didn't agree with. They would basically steal their children and give them to model citizens to raise. And so there was a long process of trying to restore those familial ties after the dictatorship. And so this is one man who he always kind of knew he was adopted, but he wasn't sure why. It was definitely not something that they talked about. And so as an adult, he tries to find out more about this and just kind of navigating that. Fuera de lugar from March 23rd. This one is about a physiotherapist, I think, who was working with the women's soccer team, I think, in Colombia, maybe. The sexual harassment and abuse that happened between, I think, coaches or, people in power in the team, and obviously how those things typically play out, of the power dynamics and believing people, not believing people, all of that. So definitely a lot of content warnings for this one, as for many of these, but very, very good listen. Another blockbuster type one is Los Gigantes del Lago from September 14th, 2021. This one is about Pablo Escobar, not as a person, but he had his huge estate where he had all kinds of exotic animals brought in, and then when he was arrested, his estate just kind of stayed there with no one necessarily taking care of it. And so the hippopotamuses that he had at his estate escaped and were just wreaking havoc in the community. Obviously hippopotami, I don't know, are very dangerous, super not friendly creatures. Needless to say, wild story. No me casaré from October 5th. This one was the story of a girl in, I think, Guatemala, who wanted to continue with her education, but her family and community and everything obviously expected her to get married at quite a young age, instead of, they didn't really have the money to pay for her to continue, and it was just expected that she would get married. So they actually took quite a non-traditional approach of fighting this in the courts. I think that this conversation often like vilifies the like indigenous communities, and I feel like this one did a decent job of not doing that. Like it talked to her father and like a bunch of other people in the community who supported her or didn't support her at the time, but did clearly want what was best in the context that they had and everything. El Hotel Embrujado from November 2nd. So this one is, I forget her last name, Joanna is her first name. She has a channel. She works in a whole bunch of media. She did like, I think it's like a Halloween special. So she's telling the story of one time she stayed in this hotel that was, unbeknownst to her, like known to be a haunted hotel. And she's a very, very good storyteller, obviously. So it was just a super, super entertaining listen. So yeah, that is all I have for this round. Be sure to also check out the list because there are also ones on there that are amazing, probably deserve to be mentioned just as much as the other ones, but just didn't jump out to me as much on this pass through. So still loving Radio Ambulante. Definitely have slowed down dramatically on my listening. I used to commute like almost an hour and a half round trip every day, and so I had a lot of podcast listening time. So yeah, now I have 2022, 2023, and 2024. So I need to get on those because obviously they are only continuing to come out. So if you have favorite episodes or opinions on any of these, definitely leave them below, and I will see you in the next video.